No está tan lento. Welcome, my beautiful people. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday evening. Welcome to the STR News Digest, your go-to place for everything related to short-term rentals, the hospitality industry, and travel. Today, I want to start the show off by talking about the government shutdown. It really irritates the living crap out of me when especially the media tries to fearmonger all of us, that the world's going to end, you're not getting your Social Security check, dude. And the problem is that a lot of people, hopefully none of the people that subscribe to my channel, hopefully none of you guys are that gullible to believe that if you're on Social Security that you're not going to get a check, to believe that TSA is not going to be working, to believe that Custom Patrol and they're not, that the world's going to end because of this government shutdown. None of that is happening, people. None of that. Okay. And worse yet, I saw this article that hundreds of thousands of federal employees are resigning because of the government shutdown. No one's freaking resigning, bro. No one's freaking resigning. Anyway, let's talk about how the government shutdown can really affect travelers and if you're a host, how that can affect you, right? Number one, you got to understand that TSA is considered essential personnel. They're not being told not to come to work, right? Now, they are technically not getting paid, but I say technically because they're going to get paid, right? It's not like they're going to work for free. The problem is, and here's the problem that I see, because government workers, and I'm going to include, if anybody knows me, my past life was in government, right? I was a government worker. Government workers are lazy as F, right? And they're going to take advantage of this fact and call out sick, not come to work. So as a result of that, there may be areas or pockets of places in the U.S. in which a lot of people are going to start calling out sick and they're not going to come to work. So that may create a shortage. And as a result of that, expect delays, right? Expect delays. But if you are watching this live, or if you see this on replay, and if you're a subscriber, I'm hoping that you are a smart traveler and you can anticipate this. In addition to that, I'm hoping that because you travel, right, you have TSA pre-check. And because you travel internationally, you have global entry. If you have those or clear, right, if you have any of those, don't sweat it. You're not going to, if you get delayed, it's going to be very, very minute. So that's number one. So there may be some delays. The other thing that will happen or should happen, and let me backtrack a little bit. I don't think, and you can mark my words here. Next Wednesday, when I go live, I guarantee you, almost guarantee you, that this, the government will be back live. They're going to vote on the budget, and everything's going to be back to normal. This is just politics, people. It's not going to last. I don't think it'll last more than a week. So mark my words, when I get on STR on next Wednesday, when I go live, we're gonna see whether I'm right or wrong, right? But nonetheless, it's not going to affect that. But here's what some of the areas in which it might affect you. And as of right now, there's no clear answer whether or not, for example, national parks are going to be open. right? It appears, based on what I looked at, they're currently open. But that may change as time. If this gets prolonged, that's definitely going to change. They may close some of these parks or have skeleton crews at the national parks. So if you're traveling and you're planning to visit a national park or a national monument or anything related to federal government, understand that that probably will be closed, okay? If this gets prolonged any longer. The other thing is, if you are an international viewer, you're watching this international and you were planning to come to the US and you either you applied for your visa or you haven't applied yet and you're about to, guess what? You're going to be delayed, okay? If you haven't applied, you're going to have to wait till this government, to the government reopens to apply. If you applied and you haven't gotten your visa, it's going to be delayed because those people are non-essential and they're not at work. So that's going to create some delays in getting tourist visas to come to the U.S. Now, as a host, how is this shutdown going to affect you? Here's how I think it may affect you. Here's one of the ways that I think it may affect you, right? In guest cancellation. There's going to be people that listen to MSNBC, CNN, and all these BS news stations and say, oh, everything's shut down. I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to travel now, right? So that might happen. Next, if they have a bad, for example, if someone is traveling to your property and let's say this shutdown gets delayed, excuse me, I got something in my eye. If the shutdown gets delayed for any extended period of time and flights start to get, or the lines at TSA start to get really big and people start to get annoyed because either flights get canceled or it took them forever to get through TSA, they're going to start off having a bad attitude, right? They're going to start getting that negative feedback from the hassle of traveling. And they may show up to your property not in the best of moods. So my suggestion is be very proactive. Be very proactive. Like, for example, with us, we already sent out emails telling everyone that's coming that has a reservation within the next couple of weeks, letting them know that TSA is still operational, that in specifically South Florida, all the state parks are open. There's nothing really affected by this shutdown here in South Florida. In that email, though, we also explained about the visas, but if they're coming within the next couple of weeks, they should already have their visa, so that shouldn't be an issue. But point is, be proactive. Start communicating with these guests right off the bat so that they can feel like you sympathize with them if there's going to be delays at the airport, right? Make sure you set that up and set expectations off right away. If you have, again, guys, if you have any questions while you're watching, list those comments. Lorena will tally them up, and then we're going to do Q&A towards the end, and I'll try to answer all the questions I can during Q&A. All right, let's move on. So now the next story probably won't apply to most of you, but I want to talk about it because I have talked about this company a lot lately, and that is Hostfully, right? I've talked about every host should have a PMS system. I recommend Hostfully, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Use any PMS system that you're going to use, right? But here's why I'm mentioning Hostfully, because Hostfully has hit its 10th birthday. It is 2026 will be their 10th year in business, and it's pretty exciting. They have a lot of new stuff, a lot of new upgrades to their PMS system. Like, for example, if you are advertising on Marriott, now you're going to be able to see your guest Marriott status on the Hostfully platform. That's pretty big, because if you're receiving let's say, for example, if you're receiving a gold member, or a platinum member, or a titanium member like me, I would highly recommend. That's good to know, because I would highly recommend that if that you reach out to them and thank those individuals for their loyalty, even though you're not part of Marriott, right? Understand that you're not part of Marriott, but the fact that they're coming and they're being referred to you by Marriott, and your property is a Marriott approved property, give them the services that they're used to. I am telling you that my biggest headaches with guests are usually Marriott guests, because most of them, when they stay at a short-term rental, is probably their first time, and their perspective or their expectations are that they're going to a Marriott property, and they want the same Marriott standards that they see in Marriott in terms of concierge services, the ability to pick up a phone and talk to someone whenever they want. They expect that, right? This is why I said, and this applies to life in general. The people, relationships, jobs, how you perceive something, and the expectations you have in that, when they're not met, then there's this disappointment. That's what disappointment is all about, right? Disappointment comes as a result of your expectations not being met, even when those expectations may not be realistic, but nonetheless, they're your expectations, right? So as a Marriott guest, we have learned that, hey, we have to, give them special attention, because that's what they're used to. So even though we provide first-class service to everyone, when we get a Marriott guest, we know that this guest is going to be the one that's going to complain about everything. So we preemptively reach out to them, we talk to them, we set up the expectations, we let them know that this is a house. We don't have a full-time staff available 24/7 to, serve them hand and feet. We can receive the stuff, but it's going to take a little bit to get it, right? For them to get it. Anyway, the other thing is a couple of updates with Hostfully that I really like is Booking.com's request to book. Now that's supported through Hostfully. Also, they created a new partnership with Lake.com. Now, this is big. Lake.com is now a Hostfully channel partner. So you can advertise on this platform, which is a popular platform. I think they have over 4 billion travelers connected to this specific OTA. Now, your property has to be either lakefront, that's why it's called Lake.com, or some type of waterway, like a river, a stream, to qualify. Not every property is going to qualify for this OTA, but if like, for example, we have properties that are on the lake, we have properties that are on the canal, they qualify to be on this platform. Next, which is the big one, and I want to remind everyone, if you are a host, don't forget October 27 of this year, Airbnb is moving everyone, whether you're a PMS connected property or not, to their 15.5% fee structure. Meaning, like, for example, right now, as a PMS connected property, we only pay Airbnb 3%. The guest pays a portion of the fee, right? The majority of the fee, the guest pays. Moving forward, the guest pays 0, you pay the 15.5%, making Airbnb the highest fee structure in all the OTAs. As far as I'm aware, on all the platforms that I'm on, Airbnb is now the highest. Booking.com and a couple of other were charging 15%, but at 15.5, it makes Airbnb the highest. Again, I've always said I have a big love-hate relationship with Airbnb. I don't understand half the stuff they do, because half the stuff they do doesn't help you. I always said this, they're not your friend. In fact, none of the OTAs are your friend. So let's be clear. I don't think any OTA is a friend to the host. We need these OTAs to help keep our properties occupied. But this is why I've been preaching for years now, even before the majority of people were preaching this, is that you should strive to be 100% self-reliant in terms of your bookings, and try to get as many direct bookings as possible so that you can control your destiny. So, and Airbnb kills me, man, because they sent out a letter. If you're a host and you're on Airbnb, you got this email, and they're saying, "Oh, it doesn't really affect you because all you have to do is increase your prices so that you can get the same net." Well, people, it doesn't work that way, man. If it was that easy, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be an issue. But it's not that easy. It's going to be a big issue. Guests are definitely going to be paying more than they were if the structure stayed the same. And the fact that Airbnb did this, because Airbnb always prides itself as being an alternative to hotels and a cheaper alternative to hotels. We know that that's not the case anymore, right? In certain circumstances, as I outlined in many videos before, it is cheaper to book a property, but more and more we're seeing that gap narrow, and in some cases it's not cheaper. For example, if you are a solo traveler, if you're traveling with just one other person, it is not cheaper to book an Airbnb. It's not. I recommend, and I've always said this, if you're a traveler, a solo traveler, you're traveling with one other person, stay at a hotel. It's going to be much cheaper for you. It's not, unless you're staying for an extended period of time. And even then, it may be cheaper to stay at a hotel unless you negotiate your rates. But anyway, this move that they're making really kills me. Next, the VRMA International Conference in Vegas is this October. I highly recommend you attend this. I think they still have tickets available. If they do, and if you can, I highly recommend you take this trip and attend this VRMA. This conference for hosts is, I'm telling you, is one of the best conferences out there. The networking is phenomenal, and you're going to learn a lot about the industry if you go. It's a great opportunity. And speaking of Vegas, right? Vegas has been in the news a lot lately. And I've been talking about this for a while because they're saying that tourism is down, that it's a result of a lot of the tariffs, which none of that has to do with nothing dealing with the travel industry. But nonetheless, the fact that Vegas, the tourism is down in Vegas, has nothing to do with tariffs, nothing to do with politics, but it has everything to do with pricing. I talked about this multiple times on this channel. Today's traveler, their number one matrix is pricing. They want to pay less and get more, right? And Vegas, and if you haven't been to Vegas lately, boy, has it gotten expensive. It's gotten super expensive. There's been multiple articles on it, but I'm going to quickly touch on how expensive it's gotten, right? If you go on, search the internet, I just did, and I found several articles, but this article is from the Wall Street Journal, and it's titled, "The Real Reason Las Vegas is Losing Visitors," right? And the real reason they're losing visitors is because of cost. Years ago, Vegas used to be known for, for luxury hotels. I mean, you look at the MGM, the Bellagio. I mean, these hotels were phenomenal hotels, but they were not expensive. In fact, if you're a gambler and you gamble a lot, they oftentimes comp you rooms, right? But today, if you look at Vegas, I'm trying to look at the actual numbers here. Here's what's eye-opening here, right? Prices have surged in some cases by more than 100%. So, for example, a bagel in Vegas, the average cost of a bagel is $33. The average cost of a bottled water is $26. Enough said, right? And here's the other thing. Just like a lot of hotels have done recently, which I think it's a big mistake, when you go to Vegas, you get slapped with some of these hidden fees, and most of them are going to be called resort fees. Those resort fees are daily, and they're not cheap, man. They're not cheap. It's gotten a little crazy in terms of how expensive it is and how they're trying to nickel and dime you for everything. So that's why Vegas is down. In addition to that, Vegas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, most of the Northwest, Portland, Seattle. Oh my God, it is so infested. There's homeless everywhere. I mean, it's not a nice place, man. I've been there a couple of times last year. This year we went in May. I don't know. It's sad because I personally think, especially the Pacific Northwest, is probably some of the most beautiful places on the planet, right? And it's just, I don't know, man. They just have to do something with those places. So that is going to be it for today's show. I'm going to open it up for Q&A. Lorena, do we have any questions?
Yes, but I think that you need to repeat some of the stuff because people are like asking while you are talking. So maybe you need to repeat, okay?
Okay.
So they say like, according to that, I mean, they are talking about the fiscal year end closure. How that affect international flights and departures?
Okay, so going back to the government shutdown, right? The international travelers as well as domestic travelers, it's not right now as of today. And again, if this gets prolonged, it may we may see some of this stuff change. But as of today, it doesn't affect it at all because TSA personnel, customs and border patrol personnel are considered essential. Traffic controllers are considered essential. So those individuals have to work because they're considered essential personnel. They can't be laid off right now. Non-essential people like clerks, admin people, yeah, they can be let off. They're not coming to work, but TSA is. So you're not going to have an issue. Now, again, with the caveat that if this gets prolonged and these people feel that there may be an issue with their pay because they haven't gotten paid. Because remember, the federal government, most of them get paid on the 1st and the 15th of the month. So if they don't get their paycheck, I'm here to tell you, man, I was a government employee. They're going to call out sick. There's going to be a pandemic style sickness it's going to hit these TSA personnel, air traffic controllers, and they're not going to come to work. So it just depends on how long this gets prolonged. And I personally don't think it's going to get prolonged at all. I think it'll be done within a week. What else?
Perfect. Okay. Again, the same stuff. Let me go to the question. They say like, will the TSA and immigration impact by the fiscal year end changes?
Yeah, I've already answered that. Yeah, there's it's not going to, like I said, as of right now, it's not going to impact anything.
Perfect. Okay, there is another question about the let me. Okay. Someone say, I have a question. Why has tourism dropped in the West Coast as Las Vegas, for example, or California?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There's because it's been in the news a lot, right? And there's a lot of factors that comes into play as to why it's only affecting the West Coast, because it's not really affecting us on the East Coast. But again, it is price, people. The West Coast is expensive, and people are very price conscious today. And the number one factor, and I talked about this multiple times throughout these videos that I have put out, how the number one factor is price for travelers today. So it's super expensive to go to Vegas. I just gave you a bottle of water is $26. Come on, people, that's insane. So the average person doesn't want to go there anymore because it's too expensive. And then, and if you go further west, like I mentioned, Pacific Northwest, which again, it's a beautiful place, but it's getting ruined by homelessness, crime. San Francisco, forget about it. Los Angeles. It just smells. You walk that, it smells, people. Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles stinks, right? It's dirty. They just got to clean the place up, right?
Okay, and the last one is, how is tourism doing on the East Coast, especially in South Florida?
Yeah, okay, great question, right? South Florida, right now we're in shoulder season or the slow season, but in terms of overall numbers, they're equal to, if not a little bit greater than they were last year. So tourism here in South Florida is doing well. Is it doing phenomenal? No, it's not doing phenomenal, but we are in slow season. So I don't expect it to be doing super great right now. But if you look at our numbers, for example, September was higher than last year's September. And now we're entering October, and we're entering with higher numbers than we did last October. So far, so good for us. I don't know how other short-term rental operators are doing currently, but again, overall, if you look at the TSA numbers for people traveling to South Florida, the numbers are actually up. All right, is that going to be that was the last one?
Yes.
All right, my beautiful people, thank you for listening. Don't forget, if you're watching this, put a comment down below. Tell me where you're listening from or watching from. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.